This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Wednesday, Ceviche Wednesday, January 29th. And today's pod is the best one yet. This is a T-Boy.
Here's the top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
Well, Jack, we're back, baby. Stocks rebounded Tuesday after freaking out on Monday.
Yeah, the panic from China's DeepSeek AI app has eased a bit.
Now, Yeti's Nvidia stock is still down 10%, but the rest of the market thinks a low-cost AI provider, even from China, is a potential good thing.
Just like we said in yesterday's pod, actually.
But in the meantime, Jack and I found 3 fantastic stories for you. Jack, what's on today's T-Boy?
For our first story, Twitter just turned into a financial firm.
Yes, they
because
did.
X is partnering with Visa.
But there is one golden anchor that everyone in finance really wants.
And X doesn't have it yet.
No, they don't.
For our second story, there's one stock beating Bitcoin since the pandemic, and it's Royal Caribbean Cruises.
Americans are going gaga for cruises because the cruise is the value meal of vacations.
And our third and final story is the biggest winner of the Trump presidency so far, the space industry.
Space. Trump has started a new space race, so we need to tell you about the 4 final frontiers.
But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix of stories.
How's that for alliteration? We got 3 F's in that final one, Jack. Not too shabby. Can we buy a consonant?
But Nick, right now, every family I know has at least one sick person in it.
Well, Jack, it makes sense. It is peak runny nose season. Schools are teaming up with tissues these days.
So chances are you could use a bowl of soup or maybe a cough drop right now.
But Yetis, if that's the case, Jack and I have some fantastic practical news for you. And what is it, Jack?
Progressive Soup Company just invented soup drops.
Get this. It's not a cough drop and it's not a soup. It's a soup drop. Let's explain.
It's a lentil lozenge.
It's a corn chowder cough drop.
It's a matzo ball of menthol.
We'll take 2 more.
Now, Progressive is selling these things starting with their chicken noodle flavor.
But you open up the aluminum can of soup with a can opener, and instead of soup, you got 2 dozen candies in there.
They're little like cough droppy kind of candies, but it's soup.
Basically, this soup company turned chicken noodle into a sucking candy.
But we actually think there's a bigger market here.
Jack and I were talking before the pod, and we're thinking cough drops with Kleenex tissues as the packaging.
Yeah, you open up the cough drop and you have a tissue ready for the next time you sneeze.
Or Jack, could Ricola come out with a grilled cheese cough drop? Would that kill them over there?
Only if it came with a side of tomato soup cough drops.
Okay, Jack, here's what I'm thinking. An oatmeal-flavored Dayquil cough syrup. Would you buy that?
If it knocks me out and has me sleep through the night, I would buy that.
Again, we'll take 2. So besties, if you're sniffling, wiping your nose, or sneezing right now, you don't actually need a spoon to solve your physical problems.
You can just suck on a soup drop instead.
Tissue sold separately. Jack, let's hit our 3 stories.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, X, formerly known as Twitter, just announced a partnership with Visa for peer-to-peer Venmo-like payments.
Is X on its way to becoming the everything app? Or is it a nothing app?
And why does this remind us of Beyonce? I haven't told you this part, Jack, but it just did remind me of Beyonce. You ready? I'll save it for the takeaway.
Okay.
I got you. But Yetis, have you ever heard of Goldman Musk?
How about JP Twitter or Morgan Stanley Tweet?
Well, now you will, because Elon's X finally announced their first big payments feature powered by Visa.
It's called X Money. It's basically a Wall Street and social media love child.
Yeah, which got its daddy's credit card. And it's been a long time coming because financial payments, that is a regulated space.
So in the 2 years since Elon has owned Twitter, he's been quietly gaining approval from all the states to do something with finance. And he's up to 41 states that have approved it.
Well, here's the news. Instead of securing the final 9 states to build out his own finance network on social media, Elon is partnering with Visa.
Everyone with an X account will soon be able to send money to other X users through their Visa debit card.
And then X users could actually transfer money to their bank accounts using X. Your move, Instagram.
So if you just had brunch with buddies, you can tweet a picture of the pancakes and then pay Timmy on X for everyone to see.
Because the ultimate millennial flex really is telling people what you just spent money on indirectly through emoji.
All right, so Elon has always wanted X to become the everything app, right?
I like that got a little chuckle out of you, Jack. It wasn't a huge chuckle, but it was a little bit of a chuckle.
Well, back to Elon. Soon, with this news, you can buy anything on X, right?
Well, Jack, I gotta pause the pod on you right there. And you know why, don't you?
Internally, Nick and I call this section of the story the caveats. Because first of all, X money isn't a thing yet. They only announced that it will launch, and I quote, this year.
Yeah, you gotta bring a huge grain of salt the size of the Atlantic to this thing. Because Elon said back in 2022 that he would have payments on X by 2023.
And with Tesla, everything he announces ends up being 5 years late.
Like the Cybercar.
So it wouldn't be a surprise if X Money launches way later than this year.
Also, we should point out that Visa didn't actually say anything about this new deal at all either.
And the entire announcement from X was just one tweet by the CEO, Linda Yaccarino. 61 words total. We were looking for a press release. We couldn't find one.
And finally, Jack, when you look at what this product is, what is X actually launching here?
They're just launching a copycat of Venmo, which has been around for 16 years already.
We would call this Venmo 2.0, but it kind of is just Venmo 1.0.
Yeah, 16 years after Venmo.
So this news doesn't really make X the everything app, kind of makes X the maybe something anything more app.
We'll see. But we've said that Elon practices roundup marketing. When he's not quite done with a product, he always just rounds it up.
Well, the new Venmo version of X is the perfect example of it. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for all our buddies over in finance?
The real measure of success in finance is direct deposit.
Ah, Yetis. For X to really become the everything app or a finance app, it has got to get your direct deposit, your weekly paycheck.
The ultimate anchor product in banking is where your paycheck goes.
Yeah, that's the direct deposit. Basically, if all your financial things, products, and accounts are Destiny's Child, then the direct deposit is the Beyonce. You see what I'm saying, Jack?
Basically, whatever bank account gets your direct deposit, that's where you link your credit cards. That's where you make most of your transactions. If you request a loan, it's probably from that bank. It's the anchor of your financial existence.
The fintech industry is so desperate to get your customer direct deposit that they offer bonuses just to move it over there.
And when we worked at Robinhood, a fintech company, it was a key internal goal. They were always asking, how can we get people to send their paychecks to their Robinhood account?
So yeah, it is this Visa announcement. It could be the start of a respectable financial business for the social media platform X.
But the real measure of success in finance and payments, it's direct deposit.
Because if finance is Destiny's Child, then direct deposit is the Beyonce.
Okay, that's pretty good. I'll take
It's pretty
that.
good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
For our second story, the comeback stock since the pandemic is Royal Caribbean Cruises. Royal Caribbean is now expanding from oceans to rivers.
America is absolutely gaga for cruises because it's the value meal of vacations.
Jack, let's whip out the calendars here. Take us back to March 9th, 2020. What did we see when we looked out the window?
March 9th, 2020 is when the pandemic symbolically arrived in the United States via cruise ship.
That's right. The ship was quarantined in San Francisco Bay. 100 people were on board who had COVID. And Jack and I were recording an episode in San Francisco. Remember, we waved to the ship.
I saw it go under the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yet no industry was more hurt during the pandemic than the cruise industry.
Stock in Royal Caribbean fell from January to March of that year, just 2 months, by 85%.
Airlines got a bailout, but cruises did not.
Cruise stocks were all in the dumpster for 3 full years. Investors avoided them like the plague because they kind of had the plague on board, potentially.
Literally. But since 2022, Jack and I have been keeping track, and no stock has recovered more from its pandemic lows than one particular cruise stock.
Royal Caribbean.
Yeah.
If you bought stock of Royal Caribbean in mid-2022, congratulations, because it has 8x'd in value since then.
That's right. This cruise stock is outperforming Bitcoin over there.
And Royal Caribbean just put a cherry on top of the self-served ice cream sundae you did on the poop deck.
Right next.
They're now expanding to a new body of water.
Here's the news, Yetis. Royal Caribbean is launching lake cruises. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Pond cruises. I'm sorry, Jack. I read that wrong. Royal Caribbean is launching river cruises.
Starting with Europe. This is bad news for Viking river cruises,
It is.
which we've all seen the commercials targeting senior citizens.
That's true.
They fell 12% on news of new competition from Royal Caribbean.
But it is great news for Royal Caribbean, whose stock jumped to a new all-time high on news they are moving to a different body of water.
And it's not just that Royal Caribbean stock has recovered from the pandemic. Their stock today is twice as high as it was ever before the pandemic.
Jack, do you still own Norwegian cruise stock over there?
No, I bought Carnival for a short period.
How did that go?
I should have hung on to it, but I felt guilty about it.
Story for another pod. In the meantime, Yetis, toss on your tankinis because Americans have gone gaga for all sorts of cruises these days.
Pre-pandemic, Royal Caribbean could charge $150 per person per night to ride on their cruise ships.
All right, Jack, what's it going to cost you now if you want to get the unlimited shrimp buffet on a Royal Caribbean?
They've jacked up prices by 48%. They're now charging $223 per person per night on average.
That's not even the best part, is it, man?
Satisfied cruisers are telling Royal Caribbean they would do a river cruise with them too, if they would offer it.
So Royal Caribbean ordered up 10 new riverboats, and they're making their maiden voyage down the Danube River in 2027.
The next MTV spring break, maybe on a Royal Caribbean Mississippi River cruise going down to like Panama City Beach.
Yeah, heads up if you live on the bayou, because apparently Royal Caribbean is going to do an Okefenokee swamp trip the next time.
Did you say Wompy Swampy?
I said Okefenokee, and if you know, Jack, you know. So what's the takeaway for our buddies over in the freshwater cruise industry?
Cruises are the value meal of vacations.
Yetis, back in May of last year, Viking Cruises IPO'd. We covered it on this pod. They were capitalizing on record demand for cruises.
Then in December of last year, we covered news that Disney is doubling their cruise ship fleet from 6 vessels to 12 vessels.
Suddenly now, Royal Caribbean is racing to the Rhine with river cruises too. What's going on, man?
The reason is easy. Cruises are a cheap vacation with one clear price. It's an all-inclusive ticket.
Full disclosure, not a cruise guy. I like a land spa, Jack. I want to be seated during my massage.
You're not a cruise guy because you love planning vacations.
No, that's true.
And cruises are the opposite of that. You don't plan at all.
No, I would jump off in the middle of the ocean. But with a cruise, you don't need to fly because the cruises now depart from 51 different port cities. Pretty appealing.
So you can bring the family on a vacation just by driving to your nearest port.
Yeah, cruises have gotten more expensive as cruise lines have more pricing power right now, but
there's still an affordable choice overall in the $2 trillion global tourism market.
besties, in this inflation-ravaged economy, there is value in offering value meals.
McDonald's offers a value meal that's one low price and includes everything you need. So does Royal Caribbean with their cruise tickets.
And that is why cruises are at all-time highs right now. They've always been a value meal of vacations. Hey Yetis, if you're a bestie, take a sec and hit that subscribe button.
And like this video while you're at it. If you leave a comment, by the way, we'll read it.
For our third and final story, 10 days into the Trump presidency, one industry has taken off, and that industry is space.
Space stocks and space startups are popping right now. So we have to talk about the 4 final frontiers.
This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm buying shares of SpaceX.
I love that song by David Bowie. Reminds me of that scene from Walter Mitty, If You Know, You Know.
We already said if you know, you know on the show, Jack. You can't say it twice now. Too many people won't know. Yetis, one overlooked detail about President Trump's first term as president, he actually established the 6th branch of our military, the Space Force.
50 years after we landed on the moon, the Space Force was established in 2019.
And it immediately took over the Space Command from the United States Air Force.
And guess what? That means the Space Force already has a space base. And guess where it is?
Where is it, Jack?
The very northern tip of Greenland.
That's right. We've already got a military base in Greenland, and it's the Space Force.
Now, everyone knows that Trump loves tariffs and attention, but his favorite industry may be space.
After all, Trump's first buddy, Elon Musk, is the planet's top space entrepreneur with SpaceX.
And at his inauguration, Trump said that he will, and I quote, pursue our manifest destiny into the stars and place the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Jack, aren't you reading like a little kid's space book to the pod son right now?
Yeah, I'm reading a National Geographic book about space.
Are you learning anything?
I'm learning more than the kids are. Get this. One day on Mars is almost exactly equal to one day on planet Earth. Can I explain?
Hit me. What do we got?
Earth takes 24 hours to spin around, i.e. one day. Mars takes 24 hours as well,
Yeah.
plus 37 minutes. What are the chances we have the same day length with Mars?
Those Martians are the same age as us. We really are
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
But Yetis, here's what Jack and I found fascinating about this story. Donald Trump's JFK-style race to Mars mission, it's actually brought the attention of Wall Street to space.
We found 6 pure play outer space stocks that are all up double digits so far this year.
Yeah, to quote the movie Wicked, all these space stocks are defying gravity right now.
Intuitive Machines, for example, they're making vehicles that can drive on the moon and on Mars.
They're up double digits. Or Jack, Rocket Labs, they provide rocket launch services to NASA and other space groups.
How about this company called Redwire? They're developing infrastructure that we would need if we wanted to live on Mars or the moon, including space farming.
Besties, there are like 4 or 5 other satellite building companies we found too, publicly traded, all up double digits so far this year.
Oh, in the startup scene, they're buzzing too.
That's true. Last week, 2 space startups filed to IPO, Voyager and Karman. That's big. We haven't had IPOs in so long.
If SpaceX IPO'd, that'd be like the wildest IPO of the decade.
And now, Houston, we do have a problem we should point out, shouldn't we, Jack?
All those companies and all those stocks Nick and I just mentioned, they are very risky investments.
Yes.
After all, they depend on Earth colonizing Mars, something that's not exactly guaranteed to happen.
And that's why in the last 2 years, there's kind of been a black hole in the space industry. All the stocks have been down, sucked away, and only now are they reemerging.
One small step for my portfolio, one giant leap for my risk profile.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for all our buddies over in the space industry?
We are entering the final 4 frontiers.
Yetis, most people think that everything has been discovered, that the days of exploration are over behind us.
But there are 4 frontiers ripe for exploration still in our lifetimes: space, the deep seas, the Arctic, and artificial intelligence.
Yetis, those 4 frontiers are the new Wild West. They are the new world that are still open for us to explore.
They're the new world.
Yeah, they are, Jack, because no one nation fully controls any of them, nor does any nation fully understand their potential.
And yet, each is filled with economic opportunity and resources and power.
And with a power-loving president in the United States and the disruption of global norms and alliances, there is a new land rush, literally, into this 21st century.
Space, the Arctic, the deep seas, and the unknowns of artificial intelligence.
Those, Yetis, those are the 4 final frontiers. Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for Ceviche Wednesday?
X just announced X Money with 61 words in a tweet. It's a partnership with Visa. It's basically Venmo.
But the real measure of success in finance is getting your direct deposit, the Beyonce of banking.
For our second story, it's Royal Caribbean. Their stock hit an all-time high yesterday on record earnings and an expansion to rivers.
Because cruises have always been the value meal of vacations.
And our third and final story. The space industry is buzzing after Trump's goal to put an American flag on Mars.
Space, it's one of the 4 final frontiers.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, we got an update on DeepSeek. On Tuesday, we told you how China's AI app did AI at a fraction of the cost.
It wasn't just chip stocks that fell as a result of that news. A bunch of big energy stocks fell over 20% too.
Big energy companies expected a surge in demand on electricity because of AI's electricity needs, but China's app shows they may not need that.
DeepSeek showed that AI doesn't require expensive chips, and it doesn't require lots of energy either.
Also, quick correction to yesterday's show, we said that DeepSeek does AI without NVIDIA chips.
However, 3 Yetis pointed out DeepSeek does have NVIDIA chips, just their older, less advanced chips.
DeepSeek bought NVIDIA's H800 chips before export restrictions kicked in.
Second, Google is changing the name Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America in Google Maps.
Google said they will follow the US government's lead when it comes to the naming of places.
To users in Mexico, it will still be called the Gulf of Mexico.
And finally, Starbucks earnings are out, and the theme was back to barista. Sales fell, but not as bad as expected with Starbucks turnaround.
And as of this week, Starbucks has brought back the condiment counter so you can pour your own damn half and half in your coffee.
Oh, and they brought back mugs with free refills, like porcelain mugs, if you're taking a latte. For here, please, for here.
They're also encouraging baristas to go full Picasso. They're encouraging baristas to make latte art.
I know how much you love coffee, Jack. One of my life goals is to hand you a macchiato with a hummingbird in it.
I love hummingbirds.
I know you do. No one else knows that about you, but I know you do. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Brian Kane from lovely Cheyenne, Wyoming.
We just discovered, thanks to Brian, there is a musical road over in Hungary.
Get this, near the town of Tapiozen-Marton in Hungary, there are grooves in the pavement that create vibrations that play a song, usually a Hungarian folk song, while you drive at just the right speed.
It's basically a rumble strip, but they're spread out in certain distances and have different texture so that it makes a song as you rumble over them, but only when you drive the right speed.
Right. So, Jack, if you go 50 miles per hour in Hungary on that highway, you will hear this song.
Musical road.
It's not good for the wear and tear on your tires, but it is good for keeping people driving the speed limit.
Yetis, you look fantastic today. And if you're sucking on a soup cough drop, all the more power to you. You look even better.
And as always, we'd love if you shared the show with a friend, because that's how we grow.
HYHTBOY, have you heard the best one yet? And Jack and I will see you tomorrow.
If you know, you know.
And there's the third one. And before we go, a happy birthday to Yeti Jack Gonzalez over in Chicago doing logistics.
Happy birthday to Felipe Scalette in St. Louis, Missouri, who listens with Dad in the car.
And Brooklyn Barco down in Phoenix, huge ABBA fan, is a dancing queen for the birthday celebration.
And I just have one question for birthday girl Amanda Balse in Vancouver, British Columbia. Who is the current quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers? We heard that you know more NFL quarterbacks than the rest of your family.
It's not a challenge. It's a birthday celebration. Happy birthday. And to the Kansas Yetis out there, happy Kansas Day. Big day for Kansas.
Well, Super Bowl Sunday is a big day for Kansas.
True. They got two. And Chris Marslender, 3V, and the Chia Network team, congratulations on launching a brand new financial product, Bermuda.
Bermuda. Cool name.
It is a cool name, Jack.
Cooler than X Money.
And if you want to get a shout out on this podcast, all you got to do is fill out the form in our episode description.
This is Jack. Nick and I both own one Bitcoin.
And his name is Ben.
Somebody recently asked me, who likes alliterations more, Nick or you? I was like, that's a tough race. I couldn't tell you.
It works every time.